us, LIR.com, 927LIR.com, and YouTube. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake, Zoobie. So, to start off this week, I think we're a little phony, Mr. Zubulake,
We're phony. Okay.
when it comes to our Jets.
All right.
Because
Explain.
every time, I know for a fact that you probably watched the game and I watched the game. We always say, oh, season's done. Was disgusted. We're not going to spend any time. And yet we keep we're like the Charlie Browns of football. Lucy keeps saying, yeah, come kick the football. Come kick the football. And they just keep pulling it away. So we're a little bit phony in that aspect because we say, we're done. And then we go and watch the game.
Well, we're going to watch. I'm going to always watch the game, John. But yeah, are they done for making the playoffs? Yeah, I'll still stand by the comments I made after 2-6 that they're not making the playoffs. But this franchise does have a history of just dragging you back in once you think they're dead. They give you hope,
Yeah.
and then they eventually will crush everybody anyway. Now, the issue is here, the margin of error is so small that we can be, when we go on next week after this Arizona game, we're either going to be in total mode, like you said, like they're coming back, or the season's going to be over after
Yeah.
one more loss. So that just shows the mountain that they have to climb. And I don't know if you heard about any of the numbers on it, but it basically at 2-6, the only time that teams have come back to make the playoffs is when they won their division. And the
Wow.
Jets really have no chance to win
No
the
shot.
division.
No
So
shot.
the other side of that is there is an extra playoff team, and that's something that's relatively new. There's not enough data there. So yeah, we're going to have hope, but we're going to speak the truth, John, as we do each week. And let's face it, after that first half, did you have any thoughts that anything was different than the team not making the playoffs?
Yeah. I mean, Malachi Corley, that's all you have to say on that. I mean, that was like a typical Jets,
That's
just a Jets mess. It's something you can't even believe until you see it.
Yeah, that would yeah. And here's a kid that got so much hype once they drafted him, then wasn't playing at all. We talked about him in the beginning of the season, right?
Yeah.
Getting no snaps whatsoever, and learning the lesson of a lifetime. And this is not the first time this has happened. It definitely has happened a lot on the college level. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's some sort of like inner, a thing that's going on with the younger crowd who's like, let's see how cool I am that I'm going to drop the ball and get my celebration started so early. That's part of my celebration. I'm going to get the ball right over. I'm going to drop it right away so I can get into my little celebration. Now, the crazy thing about that, John, is how that ball ended up rolling out of bounds. Only the Jets that could happen because according to the ref in the booth, he said that if the ball stayed in play in the end zone, the Jets would have, and nobody recovered it. The Jets would have kept the ball at the where he fumbled, which was the 1-inch line, which would have been
Wow.
first and goal from the 1-inch line. So that ball made it over the end of the end zone by what, a foot? So it is really unbelievable because I don't know about you, John, but I have to tell you, when he crossed that goal line, I definitely was like, did he just drop the ball? I really saw that, and I was like, are you kidding me? And of course, the announcing team did not mention that, didn't even like
Of course not.
catch it. Now they probably don't have a good angle because they're not watching on TV, I guess. But that was crazy. That was just something that he's the luckiest guy around that nobody's talking about him. It's just like the play in the Hail Mary the week before with the Commanders and the Bears, where you see these things, and when you lose the game, you're the GOAT of all time. But when they come back and win, they saved his butt, John, as the old saying goes.
Well, it's funny that we're talking about, it wasn't exactly the nicest looking win. I mean, it was pretty sloppy. but it's amazing after the Jets won, and then you start looking at all the teams that are ahead of the Jets. They all lost. They all lost. I'm saying to myself, okay, we have some teams 4-5, and then you start looking at the next game that some of these teams have to play. The Jets, if they win this coming week, they have a good shot of at least tying, believe it or not, tying for a playoff spot. That final, what is it, the seventh one that they just
Yeah,
added.
they're John.
It's
They're in it at
incredible.
3-6. They're
Incredible.
in it at 3-6.
Incredible.
Seventh team in the playoff definitely matters. Parity matters. Certain teams like the Chiefs are not losing any games. That is a factor too, because the league gets a little top heavy. I don't know what it is about the Houston Texans and the Jets, but can they play? Can they come up to
Oof.
MetLife every year? Because that's 2 years in a row. Because of that point spread, everybody just couldn't understand why the Jets were favored. I think I said it last week. I hope I said it on the show. Was it
You
because they
did.
beat the crap out of them
You
the year
did.
before, and
You
they
did.
went out and did it again with really a great effort. And I think there's a few different there's a definitely a bunch of storylines, right? So you've got the receivers, obviously Garrett Wilson making one of the all-time greatest catches in Jet history, if not the greatest.
Yep.
It's definitely up there. Devontae Adams showing up again.
Yep.
The offensive line losing both starting guards. By the way, they're on their third right guard already, Jake Hansen. Then they
Unbelievable.
have to bring in tackles, Fashanu and Max Mitchell, in early in that game, play basically the whole game with
Yep.
5 tackles.
Yep.
And then the defensive line, where Quinnen Williams, after sleepwalking basically the first, 6 games of the year, has shown up and is dominating again. And then with Hassan Reddick now on the roster with Will McDonald, the Jets suddenly have their pass rushes looking good. So despite their banged up secondary, their banged up O line, and a banged up 40-year-old quarterback, we got another week to talk about him and smile at least. And I'm telling you, I was like, I couldn't tell you how happy I was after that game. I really was just, it was like a relief. Like this season cannot be over in front of Halloween. So just give us some hope. And then we can complain where the New England game is going to be the game
Ugh.
that will come back to haunt this team. And it's just not going to cut it, John, for 2025 on this promise of, oh, we came so close, but if we didn't lose those games early in the season, I mean, it's just not going to cut it, right? It's not
Yeah.
going to cut it.
Well, you can look at the Denver game, you can look at the Minnesota game. I mean, this team could have easily have been at least 5-4 at this point, at the very least.
Yeah, it's a shame they're not,
You
but
know,
they are what their record
they
is.
are.
But you're right. It's reality is you look at the standings; they're right there. This is not going to be an easy game, John.
No,
Going
no,
cross
everyone's
country.
underestimating
Yeah,
Arizona.
Arizona's played
They're a
well
good
on the
team.
road, so it should be a good matchup. And then also big news for the season ticket holders. I think that you may have seen it. The Colt game, which was going to be another Sunday night game the week after, has now been flexed to 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank
The
you
the
so
the
much.
Jets got flexed out of
Thank the
because
Lord.
the NFL says we can't show the Jets anymore. They stink.
Yeah, right. And they play unless it's Thursday, of course. Thursday night,
Right.
there for some reason they on the short weeks. It's unexplainable. But kudos to, like I said, to guys like Garrett Williams, to Devontae Adams, to the guys who came in, who was next man up. Jalen Mills in the secondary. Let's shout out to
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
He's stepping up. DJ Reed, getting his first career sack. That was some imagination on a corner blitz. Sauce Gardner remains in a bit of a fog and looked like he was injured. And he was playing hurt, and he showed he was playing hurt a little bit, kind of a little too much, where he's grabbing his legs and stuff. And it's like, okay, Sauce. I mean, You just got to face the reality. Maybe there was a little too much in the off season of having fun. He
Yep.
picked up golf, and now he loves golf so much. Get back to basics. You're a good player, but he's got to obviously play a lot better to be. He wants to get paid big money, John. You better step it back
Yeah.
up.
Well, and you knew that the next piece of Jets news was coming when Rodgers was throwing Williams under the bus. Well, Williams is gone to Pittsburgh for a fifth round pick.
It's a straight fifth rounder, no pick swaps. The Jets get a dead cap hit, right? There's a pretty relatively decent size. This is just another one of these free agent signings in veteran free agency that just not worked out for Joe Douglas at all. He seems to bring guys in who the team doesn't want, the coaches don't want to use. Last year was Mecole Hardman. This year it's Mike Williams, and it's a shame. Now they have no depth at wide receiver, so Corley is definitely going to have a role on this team. He's too talented not to get back out there, John. They're just going to have to throw him back out there
Yeah.
because they're going to need him.
Yeah.
They need him.
And Brees looks, he looks like his old self again. But I love Allen. That kid's something else. I love that kid.
Hey, they used them together a few times. That was good to see. Obviously, they have ability. They have talent. It's their best players have to play well.
Yeah.
It was crazy though, John. Let's face it. That after that first half,
Oh,
I mean, it was just I didn't even know what to say. And then they just changed the tide in the first drive, right? They took the ball in the third quarter and went 70 yards and got a touchdown and just changed the whole dynamic of the game and now the season. So good for them. It means it's just you get to play next week with something on the line. Can they put some games together? Now the problem is everyone's like, oh, of course they have all these teams that they can beat. Well, it's the same thing on the other side. You think the Cardinals aren't saying the same thing? The
yeah.
Cardinals are like, hey, wait a second, we got the Jets coming in. We can beat these guys, and we want to go to the playoffs.
Well, and what was really funny to me was how they explained Zerline's absence. Boy, all these mystery injuries or
Yeah.
illnesses.
Yes, this is going down with the dry eye syndrome. This is called I've got a guaranteed contract and we're not cutting you. Riley Patterson gets in there and doinks one on the extra point and goes through. This is definitely going to be a issue as the season progresses because if Riley Patterson is the answer, we may want to see Zerline back in that 4 weeks. I don't know how this. I'm just praying the kid doesn't have to make a big kick, John.
No, please.
I don't know how you can count on him. Hey, hopefully he proves me wrong. I'll be happiest guy around as always.
Well,
And also we should. I'm sorry. Point out your buddy Morstead. At this point, I want to make sure we mention him. He had a great game too.
he did. Yeah, he absolutely had a great game. He's been so consistent. I mean that guy could probably kick until he's 65, 70 years old. The way he does things, the guy's amazing. I love him as a punter. I think he's probably the best punter in Jets history. I mean, he's been phenomenal. This guy.
I know. Imagine having him for his whole career. We got lucky. We had him. We cut him, and he came back. How lucky is that? New Orleans had him
Yeah.
for I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years. They gave up on him. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. It doesn't look like he's even remotely slowing down.
yeah, and the thing is with the Zerline, um, I think with him, the reason why they kept him out is maybe psychologically to get the guy back in
Yeah,
line because he's
yeah,
the guy just keeps missing and missing in the same type of kicks. And I'm saying to myself, if he could just get his head on straight, it would be phenomenal.
yeah.
We
Well,
got to get him back. We got to
I
get the guy back.
yeah. I mean, too bad it was 2 weeks instead of four. So yeah, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what happens. Hopefully, make the kicker not an important part of the game. Looking forward to the game on Sunday. Looking forward to the Sunday after that. Now at 1 o'clock, and then it's the bye. So
Yep.
let's get to 5 and 6, and then we can start maybe talking about the playoffs. But right now, let's just get these next two somehow.
Yeah, but just going back to Zerline, he was a weapon for us last year. That's the difference. I mean, we could use him as a weapon, but
Of course, of
uh,
course, it's
but
John.
he's
But
just
it's a moot point because it's not something that they can bring him back earlier. He's going to miss another 3 games. He's
right,
out.
right,
That's it.
right,
So
right,
they just have to move forward, and it's a
right.
shame that this happened because, as you earlier said, they could have won games earlier, and part of the reason they lost was because of the kicking.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's sad to say, but it's the facts. But they have to move forward. So it's all good for Jetland in a week. I'm a little concerned about the lack of depth at receiver and how this offensive line situation is going to play out. But at least I mean, John, at 2 and 7, I mean you're gone, you're done at 2 and 7.
oh, absolutely.
You can argue you can get in at 9 and 8, but 10 and 7 you probably need to get to. So that gives the Jets one game to lose for the rest of the year. So that would mean 8 out of 9 winnings to end the season. We only can dream.
Yeah, the it's funny. I was thinking about what you said last week about Prescott.
Right.
I mean, what kind of timing was that? I mean, we were
Ooh.
just talking about him. Wow, what a mess for the Cowboys.
Well, I think the interesting connection to the Jets on this was that Mike McCarthy was a lot of people's pick for head coach when they made the dreaded Adam Gase hire. And
Yep.
of course, he would have been a better hire than Adam Gase. But in the end, this is the end of Mike McCarthy. He will be gone. This is another activist owner who thinks his meddling and I'm a GM, which he definitely is, doesn't have an impact. But I think the Cowboys they've had good teams, but they haven't won any Super Bowls in a long time, right, John?
No, they
It's been
haven't gotten over the top. I mean, you could talk about all the times they were critical of Tony Romo and all these, but you know what? They never got over the top.
right. It's been a
Never.
long time. Been a
It's
long
been a
time
long
since Troy
time.
Aikman and Emmett Smith and Mike Irvin and the gang. So yeah, nothing. Always happy to see that. Could be a little segue to the Giants, who are, I guess we could say, are keeping the Dallas Cowboys out of last place in the NFC East.
Yeah, the Giants, they're unwatchable. I mean, they really, really. I tried to watch part of that game. They're just unwatchable, that team. I feel really sorry for Giant fans because, I mean, they could literally go and lose every single game the rest of the year, and we wouldn't be surprised.
That's another thing. I'm on. I said that Dable would get another shot, but if they really have like a 4-13 year, I don't know if he's going to make it. Someone's going to take the hit for that. But let's face it, John. The biggest story for the Giants is not what the Giants are doing, but what their ex running back Saquon Barkley is doing, who made one of the greatest runs of 15 yards you'll ever see. I'm sure everybody has seen it, where he literally hurdles backwards over a player. The amount of spectacular plays, and John, quickly, because of Giants, let's face it, and I'm sorry, Giant fans. The reality is the Jets stink too. Don't get me wrong, but at least there's some hope. The Giants don't really have much hope. It's all about next year.
Yep.
The trade deadline was today. We are taping on Tuesday now. I think we're going to be doing Tuesdays, posting on Wednesdays on YouTube. Bouk and Zoobie, Bouk, Zoobie, Zoobie. Please make some comments in the comment section. Subscribe to the episode. You get the automated download. And like the episodes, John. It drives the algo. Also, the same thing with Spotify.com. Same thing. Like the show, subscribe. And, John, the world famous LIR.com, 927 LIR.com. And I heard, we did hear that then somebody put some comments on the radio station's page, and we appreciate the comments, the kind words. So thanks to whoever posted that, John. So, yeah, we're a word of mouth show, folks. So, tell your friends.
Yeah, we really appreciate the feedback, and whether it's coming from out of state, New York State, just keep posting them. We love it. And it's great, Paul, to know that people are actually listening on Spotify. They're looking at us on YouTube, and they're actually going to the LIR website,
Right?
which, as we know, I was listening to it the other day, and I'm like, wow, I remember this song. Oh, I remember this song. I mean, just so many great songs from the '80s,
Right.
and
Internet
of
radio.
course,
Yeah.
they actually have some club music from 2024 that sounds very, very similar to what we used to hear in a nightclub. I mean, really similar.
Right.
Not bad
Aren't some
music.
of yeah. I think some of the DJs are going to some of the dance clubs, right? The
Yeah.
LIR DJs, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
Just
yeah.
trying to recap. I'm not out in Long Island anymore, so I'm missing all this stuff, John. So you're gonna have to keep everybody posted. So anyway, we as always appreciate everybody joining. And like I said, please like the episodes. So John, I mean, around the league, anything else out there? I mean, it was. I mean, it was an interesting game. And actually, now the thought is popping back in my head. What I wanted to talk about was the amazing catches, because it wasn't just about Garrett Wilson making an amazing catch. There was actually a few of them. So I don't think this is getting enough play time. What do you think about these gloves that these guys are wearing now? It's almost like they're like scuba diver gloves, and it's really seems to be creating the ability to make these amazing catches easier. Have you kind of noticed that now? I mean,
Yeah.
they've been wearing
Yeah.
them for a
Yes.
while, but I think the technology is getting a lot better.
Well, especially if they have enhanced grip. I mean, they used to say the same thing about, if you remember back in, I'm going to say the late 70s, early 80s, the Stickum. You remember
Yeah, the
these?
stick 'em, of course,
Yeah.
right?
So that was a big, because they were getting it all over the ball, and then it
Right.
just couldn't get it off the ball.
Freddie
So yeah,
Bolitnikov made that famous.
it's equivalent to that. I mean, it's pretty
Right.
funny how you see these guys catching the ball. I mean, they're great athletes. First of all, to be able to balance themselves and get both feet in with inches. I mean, not even inches, inch. And, we're not talking about a size 2 shoe here. Some of these guys are 13, 14, 15 size shoes. And I'm like, how are they doing this? I could barely walk without tripping over my feet, and I'm size 13. These guys are tiptoeing like they're ballerina. It's amazing.
No, no,
But
yeah.
but how
So
are
I
they
just want
doing
to
it
put
with
it
their fingertips? I mean, it's either you have tremendous hand strength to be able to do that, or hand strength plus the extra grip that you're talking about. Because it's pretty funny you brought that up, because I'm saying to myself, I'd like to see what those gloves actually look like.
right. So the point of what I'm saying is that it's not about how athletic they are. They are tremendous athletes, but they were tremendous athletes 5 years ago
Hmm.
as well. And it seems that these catches are just coming up a lot more frequently. This is definitely not knocking anybody, because you're right. It's not just about making the catch; it's the ability to get the feet down. But they definitely, this is something to watch. Where I mean, I don't think the NFL would consider outlawing the gloves, but I'd like to see some of these guys make these catches with bare hands, huh? What do you think?
Uh, Listen, you're going back to the Fred Bolitnikoff days.
Right, that's what I was saying. With the stickum, he used to have it on his legs, right? And him and Cliff Branch of the Raiders, they were famous for wearing the stickum. And but that got the other, like you said, the uniforms, the ball, everything all stuck with that goo. This is
Yeah,
just purely amazing technology on the glove side,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
I'm not kidding. I'm not making it sound like, oh, these are easy. It's all about the gloves, folks. It's definitely. I'm not criticizing it. When it comes to criticizing the NFL, there's more than enough, John. So
Uh,
another week goes by the board, and I'm still waiting for my explanation on the expedited replay video assist. Which, by the way, one of my friends noticed on a college game. Suddenly, the eye in the sky made a call in a college game. So, can everybody out there? who watches football can, I don't know, send an email to the NFL office. Maybe Bouk and Zoobie. We may have to like go there, John. We're near New York. Let's go there with signs and say, please explain your rules.
Well, and it's amazing how often we're seeing this now. It used to be once in a while. Now it's incredible how many times it happens during the game. And you're right. There's just the referees are just not letting them play. Every time there's some type of continuity game, they just stop it dead cold. Uh, and then when you look at the actual foul, I'm like, what did they do? You don't even see it. All these ticky tack uh, penalties all the time, especially with the roughing the passer. That's getting ridiculous. I mean, if you want to protect the quarterback that much, just put a cage around the guy and that's it. Let him throw the ball. I mean, what is this? They're barely touching them, roughing the passer.
Well,
Everything's roughing the passer.
I'll give you another pet peeve of mine, which I've seen, and I think it was, yeah, I think it was definitely the Buffalo Miami game, which another one. I mean, Buffalo, how in the world they talk about a team fortunate to win again?
Yeah.
But there was a sequence in that game where Josh Allen on consecutive plays ran it in from like 20 yards and great running scrambles both times, John, back to back, called back for holding. The second one, the guy, okay, here's the rule, right, folks? The rules are you can hold inside the shoulder pads, right? You can hold in there to your life. It's you have nothing left. You can do whatever you want. But if you get around the body, right, John?
Yeah.
It's a hold. This play, the guy might have had a fingernail on the shoulder pad. The D tackle was not going to make the play on Josh Allen. He had no chance to make. He wasn't even trying to make the tackle. Allen runs by him and then he scores, and they called it back and they showed that replay. And it's like, what is going on? If it's not impacting the play, it should not be a foul. I'm sorry. It just doesn't make any sense. You're holding on the right side of the play and the play's going the other way. Is that like, can you just hold the flag in your pocket? Unless he's tackling the guy. But if he
Right.
gets a little bit outside and it's by him, I've seen that numerous times. And we complain about this all the time, but it's enough is enough. Stop it. And I'll go back to what we talked about this probably a year ago. And this is a Bill Belichick one. I mean, the guy really they should make him a consultant because the guy's, let's face it, he may be not the greatest guy in the world, but he is a really great football mind. And his argument is replay every play, meaning that you can throw the red flag on a holding penalty. And if you're wrong, you lose the challenge. Just
Yeah.
like you lose the challenge if it's a fumble or if it's out of bounds. What's the difference? What you want to review? Like you said, roughing the passer, defensive pass interference. Why can't a coach challenge those calls, and that counts against the amount of times he can throw the red flag? Since now they have the replay assist, you're never going to use that anymore because in theory, why should I try to throw out the red flag if this thing is supposedly being reviewed? And
Right.
what is being reviewed? What is the rules? What is it? Is it penalties or some penalties? It is completely random. I can't believe with all the money that is gambled on this sport that this is not a bigger deal because it will come up. What happens if the replay assist is completely wrong and they change a call and it was the wrong call? I mean, what are you supposed to do? Can you challenge the replay assist? You're going to ask the same guy who just overruled
Yeah.
it. So you're
It's
basically
true.
they have to
True.
be perfect on what they're calling. But the game goes so fast, they make the call, and the next play's going, and then you don't even know what's going on. So I'm telling you, if this happens in a playoff game, Super Bowl, where this is going to be a controversy because of this like no transparency rule making by the NFL, John. I'm sorry, just it's literally driving me insane.
Well, how about when uh, the the team sense that there may be some type of challenge or something, and they they must practice this during practice, obviously, when they're running to the line. I mean, they're running like their lives depend, and they get the play off, and then they
Right.
can't challenge it. I mean, I've seen
Right.
some teams really do that really, really well.
You better be ready to do that. You better be
Yeah,
ready to do that. And how
yeah.
is replay assist? What are they going to do? Are they going to stop the game, John?
Well, they have been.
The
They have
NFL.
been. It's football hasn't exactly been a flowing game lately. It's just too many penalties called, ticky tack fouls. Let them play. Let these guys play. And it's funny you mentioned about how much money's being made on gambling. I'm just sick and tired of seeing the same old commercials with the same people. If I see Kevin Hart on the street, I think I'm going to strangle the guy. I just can't see this guy. Or Snoop Dogg now has become like I don't know.
Spokesman of
When did
everything.
of everything? I mean, besides gambling, telephones. Since when did this guy become a model citizen? Snoop Dogg is a model citizen now.
He has
Come
seen the
on.
light, John. Snoop Dogg is mainstream, raking in the dough. He's come a long way from where he started. And talk about hey, John. The one thing about Snoop Dogg though is, if you think about it, that is an American story, right? It really is. It really is. And that's the great thing about our country,
Yeah,
that sort of stuff can happen. Um, again, when it comes down to some of the lyrics of some of his tunes over the years, if anybody actually paid attention, there would be a little bit of an uproar. But we have kind of a little fickle society when it comes to certain things. But it is like you said, the gambling. It's a huge problem. We've talked about it many times. Wait 5 years from now, folks, and where is going to be just a lot of young kids that are absolutely really involved, over getting way over their heads, right? So if you don't want
becoming
to day
addicts.
trade stocks or something, you can always gamble, and people like it, that lifestyle. And it's, if you can make money, I guess it's okay. It's hard to do that over a long period of time, though. So, and then gambling on the NFL is brutal. I mean,
Oh,
I don't know
please.
how people can do it. The in-game betting, it's really, it's definitely out of control. But John, a lot of people love it. So
Yeah.
anything around the league, I mean, I would bust your chops again about the Commanders, since they did play the Giants. So just for folks know, John made the mistake about making a comment 2 weeks into the season about somebody. So that's a good lesson. Never say anything about anybody.
True.
The
True.
Commanders are now, they actually made a big trade today. Speaking of trades, Marshawn Lattimore from
Mm.
the Saints, corner, going to the Commanders. They gave up like a third and a, what was it, third, fourth, and a sixth, got it back a fifth, something like one of these deals. Not a whole lot, but good return for the Saints, who fired their coach,
Yep.
Dennis Allen,
That was
who is,
fast.
John, they started off great. I remember talking about team. Don't talk about teams after the first 2 weeks. This is a great lesson. The Commanders were on one side of that discussion, and the Saints were on the other. They started out like they looked good, and we were even joking about like Derek Carr, like, oh, the Jets, that's the guy that could have been a Jet. And then here you go. Now the coach is fired, and they're 2-7. The Raiders firing not the head coach, but everybody else. Another team floundering. So I guess Woody Johnson kind of like set it off a little early this year, where it's like, oh, it's okay now to fire our guy because Woody did it first. So I don't, again, teams that are firing their head coaches in the middle of the season, John, are just, it's, you're going nowhere 99% of the time. I mean, maybe the Jets pull a miracle off, but not
We'll
the way
see.
to go.
We'll see. I mean, Rodgers revealed how many different injuries have been hobbling him, which, ankle, knee, hamstring. Yeah, it's all great to hear from a 40-year-old coming back from
So he
Achilles.
said that today because when he was on McAfee today, I didn't hear anything. Was
No,
that
no,
Tuesday?
no. It
Oh no,
was
in the press conference.
it was like after the game last week that they
Right.
revealed all these injuries that he's been dealing with. And I'm like, yeah, that's not a good sign. Hamstring, ankle. It's just crazy. It's crazy, especially with the Achilles. I mean, if he starts going lower and his calf starts bothering him again, they better get him off the field.
Well, it's well, he is a gutty guy, Rogers. He's a tough guy.
He
So
is. He is.
so it's the Jets are in as good a hands as they can be. I'm just like checking around the. I guess the other big the Lions, right? Your Lions still looking really strong, and that whole North is looking good. But there's yeah, if you really look at it, it's the NFC. I'm just looking at it. Wow. I mean, the Lions, obviously, them and the Vikings are look. Yeah, again, can the Vikings sustain it? Commanders, Eagles have two losses. So it's wide open over there. Definitely,
Wide
the
open.
Lions are definitely the favorite. There's no doubt about it.
Wide open. Wide
Right.
open.
And then the AFC side, the Chiefs. John, how are they doing it? Again, last night overtime victory. I did not watch the game last night. So I don't know if you did. Did you watch
I
any of the
didn't.
game last night? All
Didn't.
right. So they pulled it out in overtime. They won the coin flip. So Tampa. I guess the one thing, because this is people love talking about this stuff. Tampa scores late, go for two. No, they tie the game, kick the ball off, never touch it, lose. They should have win for two. Well, of course, if that's a scenario where you tie the game, you lose the toss, and then you let them drive the field for a touchdown, yeah, of course it was the wrong move. So, but when the team goes for two and then misses it, then you got to live with that too.
Yep.
I think it's all circumstance, John. How you are in the game. What's the position? How's your team doing? Because the other part, there was another game like that. Was I don't know again if you know this. New England,
Oh yeah.
they had that miracle play by Drake May to tie the game, which to me was a perfect chance to go for two because it was literally the last play where the other team can't even get the ball. So it's not like you go for two and miss it and there's still 50 seconds to go, or you make it and you still can lose. This way, it's like kind of, but you know what the problem was? Drake May was exhausted. I don't think he could run the play.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
they did kick the point, tied the game, and then they did have a chance, though, unlike the Bucks. And the Tennessee Titans uh, beat the Dolph. I mean, who am I saying? Beat the Pats,
Right.
and the Dolphins, of course, had a terrible loss to the Bills. So yeah, Father K is looking on the outside, but they're 2-6. I guess they have the argument because they actually got their bye. So I guess we can't count them dead. They obviously look better with Tua. Yeah, but Buffalo is just running away with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, we were hoping and praying that the Jets would stay in with them, which they did, and but that's the last we're gonna ever be that close again.
Yeah, it's a tough one. They're going to win
That
the
was a tough
division.
one. That was another tough one.
All right, so I don't know if you got anything else about the NFL.
No, no,
You're good on the NFL.
yeah, I
Uh,
did. I
yes.
did see the reason why I did not see the Kansas City game is I actually went to the first St. John's game at Carnesecca Arena last night.
All right, so you made the move to college hoops. I was hoping you would forget about college hoops, and we'll explain that in a minute after another game that we'll briefly mention that was played in the wee hours of the morning. Yeah, so let's talk St. John's. Two things: had the team look, and secondly, Carnesecca Arena. The improvements, are they real?
The team looked great defensively, absolutely sloppy offensively. I mean, Patina was just absolutely going nuts. It was so sloppy, but uh, they were playing Fordham, and Fordham is not going to contend for anything. They have this one kid, Johnson, who was shooting the lights out. Keep an eye out on this kid. Beautiful shot, small guard, but man, he can't shoot a foul shot for his life. But he's hitting threes all over the place. It was amazing to watch. He basically almost scored half of the team's points. That's how good this kid was. The one difference I see with St. John's this year is they're much more athletic, much faster team, and they're huge up front. Huge. They have this one kid, I can't even pronounce his name. Clearly, he's from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Huge, huge. He's a backup, and
Okay.
he has to be at least 7'1", 7'2", blocking shots, very agile. I mean, they had centers, unlike Soriano last year, who could, they look so smooth at shooting the foul shots. I mean, these guys look great. And then they also have this kid from Greece, Latopoulos, I think they pronounce his name.
Okay.
They used him as a reserve in the second half. Beautiful passing. Everyone's telling me what a great shooter he is. I saw great passing from that kid. It was like something out of the European League, the way he was passing the ball. But they were sloppy. They were sloppy. If they're going to play Baylor, they better wake up. They better wake
Well,
up.
that's
As
another
far
story.
as the
Yeah, but what
St.
about the two new guys, Richmond? I'm looking at the numbers here, and Smith, because I had said that how is he going to play these guys at the same time? But it looks like they didn't play a lot together. Is that fair, right?
No, yeah. Smith was coming in as a reserve. Richmond is really, really quick, but he needs help on his outside shot.
Yeah, no, he's not a good shot.
They were taking too many threes. Once they started getting the ball inside and driving the basket, then they blew away for them. But in the I think Patino really got on them because they just weren't driving the ball in the beginning. They were being lazy and just shooting threes.
All right, so
As far as
okay.
Carnesecca Arena, uh, I will be donating my tickets at Carnesecca Arena. Still, and to a fan, all complaining. You're sitting down and your knees are practically hitting the person's head in front of you. There's nowhere to move. They didn't improve anything. They didn't improve anything. It's the same seats, and I don't know. Maybe the heating system's not working. The air conditioning's not working. There's nothing working in there. I mean, they really need to rip out those seats and put in seats. I mean, the section right above us. So at least we have like padding and a back to our seats. However crunched we're in. These people, it looks like almost like you put a plastic saucer on top of like bleachers. It's amazing. If you're a little heavy set, you can't get your butt on this thing. There's no way. It's like a saucer. You can't believe it. You will not see me at a game at Carnesecca Arena the rest of the year. I don't care if Duke was in there. I'm not going to the game. There's no way I'm going to sit like my back is killing me today because of it.
So that is too funny. So I one thing I have to show your okay. So the kid's name is Iwa Chaka Chua. Wow, that's a tough name. My God, I thought Jonathan Chamwa Chachua was a hard name. This
No,
guy,
there's a second one. No, they
it's
have
not
two
him.
African students.
Okay, so but he got 6 points, 4 rebounds. I thought it was him. So it's Ibeen Ayo. Is that the guy? Is that
No,
him? No.
Io is the guard, I believe, or forward.
Okay.
No. So it's the first one then.
Okay, that's what I was okay because I didn't see the game. But your Leotopoulos kid, he only played 5 minutes, John, and he had 1 point. So I don't know. I
Right.
think there might be a little Greek bias with your comment
No, but
mentioning him
his
on the show.
pet, but he actually assisted on two baskets that
Okay,
were
okay,
absolutely beautiful. That the crowd
okay.
actually reacted just to the passes.
All
And
right. So
everyone's
we'll give him
telling me
credit.
again. I don't know anything about the kid,
He played five
but
minutes. Okay.
they all told me that he's a lefty and he has a beautiful shot.
All right.
The, Clearly, the people around me have saw all the exhibition games. I didn't see any.
Right.
So,
And
but
I guess and also
Wiltshire looked good.
Wiltshire had a good game. Or Wiltshire had a
Yeah,
good
he
game,
did.
right?
Wiltshire looked very good,
All right.
and
That's big for them.
Brady Dunlap actually
He got 9 points, 5 rebounds, John.
and
Okay.
he put on about 30 to 40 pounds.
Really?
He's not that skinny string bean now. He
All right.
bulked up a little bit.
So you okay? It's obviously way early, and then quickly because you mentioned Baylor. We people know who watch the show my connection to Baylor. So only for TV college basketball, who's now, let's face it, it's professional, it's minor league professional basketball. That's what it is. They're paying the players. Decides to start a game at 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. Now, of course, that was on the West Coast where Scott Drew decided to schedule his opener instead of playing a cupcake, plays one of the top teams in the country, Gonzaga, on the road. So, John, I'm like 11:30. This is the easiest decision of all time. I'm not watching. I'll tape it. So about 5:30 this morning, I wake up like, oh, because you know why I'm waking up at 5:30, John? Because of this dumb changing of the clocks, right?
Oh yeah.
So your body, and by the way, I think one of the presidential candidates should have ran on all I'm doing. That's the only thing I'm going to do. I'm going to change this clock stuff. I think they might have won the election on that one issue alone, where I'm like, that means in everybody's body, let's face it, because it's Monday versus the weekend, it's 12:30 in your body. So I wake up at 5:30. I check my phone, not about the game because I'm going to watch it, not knowing what happens. And then lo and behold, because I get notifications on my phone, I was just checking to see what time it was. I see something about some podcast about Baylor getting smoked. And boy, did they get smoked. So I will leave that as the only comment there. They have another tough game against Arkansas on Saturday. Scott Drew has decided to open the season with two tough games. It's just one of these things, John. So that's why all these, because they were eighth, I think, preseason ranked Baylor. I believe they were eighth. So it just shows you got to play the game. So they were missing one of their key guys, Baylor. So I got one little hope there that, this is just ran into a buzzsaw. Gonzaga's got a lot of guys back, a lot of new transfers. So they're a tough team. You play them on the road. That's a bad decision. So anyway, yeah, we'll be looking forward to that game, John. Before you know it, that old game in the Bahamas. I don't know
Coming
what
up
time of
soon.
day that's going to be. So St. John's, Baylor, and I know the Bouk and Zoobie fans they can't wait for that game.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. How about the other winner? I guess we should touch on the winter sports a little bit before we I guess we're going to have to say put a ribbon on the baseball season. Quickly, I'll start with the Rangers, then we'll get over to the Knicks. John, this season with the Rangers it's just wait, I'll see you in the playoffs, right? And that's kind of been the mode. There's some bright spots, some not so bright spots. They obviously have a good team. They basically have the same team as last year. They have a great goaltender. They're just going to try to do what they did last year with the same players. They fell short. I just don't see a different outcome. Now, hockey is heavily weighted to the trade deadline, so teams can change dramatically. So that's all I can say there. The Islanders have had some injuries. They're off to a tough start. And
Yeah.
the Devils are playing well. So, we're not going to get too much into hockey at all. But just that's like it's just for me as a Ranger fan, I'm watching, I'm interested, but I'm not sitting there on the edge of my seat because I know it doesn't matter, and all they have to do is make the playoffs, and then it's a new season in the NHL.
Yeah. We definitely learned that last year. We definitely learned that last year.
Yeah, winning the
Uh,
President's Trophy doesn't mean much. It really is meaningless.
no.
Home
No.
advantage in hockey is not worth a lot. So that's the story there. The other occupant in MSG has had a little struggles lately. I have not been watching much, so let's hear what you're thinking there on the Knicks. What's your impression?
Um,
How many games in? 7 games in now or something?
no, I
How many?
believe it's six.
Six?
They're
Okay.
three. They're 3-3.
Okay.
They've been on the road now the past 3 games. They're 2-1. The Rockets, they played the Rockets really close yesterday, but it seemed like they ran out of gas, and Towns was definitely pushed around by the Rockets are a pretty good team. They're a pretty good team. They have size. They beat you up. The Knicks were within, I believe, one with like I think 2.5 to go, maybe 3 minutes to go. It was a pretty close game. It ended up being a 12-point loss, but it was close. It was for some reason the Knicks get into this habit. I hope they don't continue it, where they fall behind by 15 points, 17 points, and then they make this crazy runs where they get within 3 or 2, and then they just run out of gas and the
Yeah.
game's over.
Yeah.
They have to learn that, you're going to expend so much energy. Why don't you just start off the game with that energy so you don't have to keep coming back like this all the time? But yeah, they really exposed the Knicks as far as toughness. They could really use a Chua. They really need him back. Sims, they kept talking about how Sims improved over the offseason. Uh, the kid could jump, but he's not tough. He's not. I don't know. There's something about him. He's very laid back kid.
He's a laid back guy, right? He's got no reaction, right? He plays with
Yeah,
no emotion whatsoever.
none,
Right?
none. It's like, what is going on with him? It's like
They need Mitch back, buddy. They
they
need him
need
back.
Mitch back because they pushed around Towns last night and they got him in foul trouble really really quickly. I mean, he got 4 fouls. I think it was before, like, in the middle of the third. They were trying to protect him from fouling out
So
almost.
who is the guys playing off the bench right now? Who is the bench right now, with not counting
Let's
obviously
see.
guys
You
who are
got
hurt?
you got Sims, McBride, Payne, Kolick they've been using him a little bit. He
Okay.
hasn't been bad.
How
Yeah,
about
he
up
hasn't.
front though? Who are they using up front?
They have Brunson, Hart.
No. I'm talking about the big guys. The big guys
Oh,
up
I'm
front, the
sorry, the
front
big
line.
guys.
Yeah. Who's coming off the bench? So Towns is starting with
Right.
Bridges, and they're playing small, right?
And
So
and
it's
and no, and Anunoby, and then
Anunoby. Okay, right. So who's the first big guy off the bench? Sims. You're saying
right now is
Sims,
Sims.
and then who else? Who's the next guy? Or they're literally going small? That's the
I mean,
problem, right?
well, they have this kid, I can't, another African guy, I can't pronounce his name, who actually is not bad. He's actually not bad.
Okay.
I wish I wish I could
All right. Don't
remember his
worry
name,
about it.
but
Oh,
but
okay.
he actually was a find for them. He's big guy. He could block shots. He could rebound, but he gets into foul trouble pretty quickly. They're trying to work with him like they've been doing with Sims, because I think eventually he's going to replace Sims the way Sims has been playing. I forgot his name now. It was
Well,
an
he didn't
African.
get off the bench last night, John. I'm looking at the box score from the Rockets. They only played 8 guys, and Kolek only played 6 minutes.
Yep.
So this is, yeah, John. I mean, I know they're missing. Like you said, good call. They need Achua and Mitchell Robinson. They need those two guys desperately. I mean,
They need him.
they need them. This is not a good enough team. If I look at this roster right here, it's not even close, John, to be a good
No,
enough team.
no, no, no. Yeah, they have to get the guys back. They
Yeah.
really do. They
Anyway,
really
all
do.
right. So, how about the rest of the league in the NBA? Anything of note?
No,
Want to talk
like
about?
you said, it's too early. Same thing like hockey. Basketball is a marathon. Just get into the playoffs and see what happens. That's the way it is.
The
Just get
Cavs are undefeated. I guess that's worthy of saying for the right. They're
Yeah.
undefeated. And
They
then
all
John, this is actually really funny. Who who is in last place in the Eastern Conference overall? Actually, the two bottom teams. Really funny. Do you know who they are? The bottom teams.
the
It's hard to
bottom
believe.
teams.
The two 14 and 15. They're one of them is 1-5, and one of them is 1-6.
Uh, well, it used to be the Pistons, but they're not there now. I think they got the second win.
They're 3-5 now, John. They're rolling, the
Yeah,
Pistons.
yeah. Ooh, what is it? The Raptors?
Now they're 2-6. They're 13th. It's the Sixers are
Oh,
one
that's
and
right.
five,
That's right.
and the Bucks are
Yeah.
1-6. So I did see the immortal Pete Vesey post that the Bucks are 1-6. How's Adrian Griffin doing? So the coach who got fired when they were what 18-3 or something, whatever.
Good old Doc Rivers back
Yeah,
working his magic.
yes, working his magic. Anyway, so I just thought that's kind of crazy. So yeah, that
Well,
just because the Gianni, your boy Yanni, you like to call me Yanni, Giannis for the people who don't understand that. allegedly on the trade block. I guess he's desperate to get out of there. Um, Again, that's the pipe
After
dream for a
signing that
lot of
huge
teams.
extension, after signing that huge extension, and then you got Joel now, and then you have Embiid attacking a reporter, or allegedly attacking a reporter.
Or attacking an alleged reporter. It could be either of
Right.
that too. Let's
Yeah.
face it, because I guess he wrote something about his brother or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But it was pretty. I shouldn't say it's funny, but Embiid, the reporter's trying to make the point that Embiid's never on the court, which is true. I mean, he just signed a huge extension with the
Of
Sixers,
course,
and I'm
of
saying to
course.
myself, when he's on the court and he's healthy, he's unstoppable. He's unstoppable. But when is he on the court? I think he's played 40%. I believe I read somewhere of his
Yeah.
team's games over the past 3 seasons.
Well, I mean, in the beginning of his career, he missed entire seasons. He was hurt in
Yeah,
college.
yeah,
Um, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's just, but the thing is, if you think about it, they're better off keeping him fresh for the playoffs. The problem is, though, you fall into a big enough hole, you don't make the playoffs. So
yeah, yeah.
that's something. I mean, I guess with that
But it's the
stupid,
beginning. It's the
right?
beginning.
Well,
It's
of
82
course,
games.
of course, John. But also with that, with the playing stuff, and they're doing this stupid mid-beginning season.
Ugh,
The
ugh.
Lakers defending their championship.
It's sickening when they advertise it. It's like, why are you guys continuing this farce this year? No one cares. No one. Who cares? Who cares?
It's
Maybe the
unbelievable.
players do. They get some extra money.
Oh, it's all about the cash. But anyway, John, enough with the NBA, enough with the NHL, enough with all sports, John, because it's time to put, like I said earlier in the show, a bow on the MLB season. We have not spoken to our fans since the absolute disaster in game 5 for the New York Yankees, who, by the way, we're not going to go to LA and win those 2 games anyway. It's time for baseball with Bouk.
So, Paul, tell me, when you think of a classic baseball game, if someone says you define a classic baseball game, what would you say?
What do you mean, game that's already happened, or like my
No,
idea?
yeah. What's an idea of, what's your idea of a classic baseball game?
Of well, yeah,
What
classic
should be in
game.
that?
I would say it's a well played game is one of the things. Yeah, I think an old fashioned pitcher's duel where somebody hits a home run late in the game to win 3-2. That would be my classic game. Okay, that would be
Okay.
my description.
So the reason why I'm asking you that is this guy, Joe Davis, I had to write down his name, who happens to be, by the way, he was doing it with John Smoltz.
Right, he was
He
the play
just
by
so
play.
happens to be the LA Dodgers announcer, regular announcer, doing the World Series. He used he said that this game 5 was a classic. Classic what? A classic mess of a game? I couldn't
Yes.
believe it. He used the word classic. I said, this is far from a classic. So the Yankees, I, you know what? I really should have stuck with because I would have been perfect for the year.
You
I
blew it.
blew it.
You really blew
I
it.
totally blew it. But
That's John.
you have to give Garrett Cole kudos. He pitched great against a really tough lineup. Really, really tough lineup. 2 great games he pitched. But the way the Yankees played defense, Cole having a brain freeze, not covering, that would have been the
Yeah.
end of the inning. Everyone talks about, oh, Judge dropped the fly ball. Listen, it would have not mattered if Cole just covered first. And what was Rizzo doing? The guy was like 3 feet away from the base. He couldn't outrun the guy that was like 20 feet away. I didn't understand that either. It was like Cole's like, he made like a hand motion for him to take it. And Rizzo was like stuck in concrete over there. I don't know what he was doing. And then you just
And,
saw it coming. You saw it coming. Volpe, that could have happened to anyone. It wasn't that bad of a play. They may say, oh, Volpe made this terrible error. It was in the hole. He was going to third. Listen, not the greatest throw. You have Chisholm over there who never plays third. So
right.
I don't really blame Volpe. But to me, Cole's play was the game right there. He gets that, they're out of the inning. And you saw it coming. You see Freeman coming up. I said, this guy has something about New York teams that he just wants to crush anything that has NY next to it. And he did. That's why he's the MVP.
Yep.
I mean, two RBIs. Then you had my man Hernandez come up, two RBI. I mean, it just evaporated.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Yankees were very, very sloppy in this series. The pitching was, again, outside of Cole, it was okay in spots, but
Yeah.
the
Well, they have to
Dodgers,
improve. They got to improve their bullpen, I
oh,
think.
100%.
So they got
One,
to
one,
get
yeah,
right. They need a big
100%.
time closer.
Yeah,
The kid was a Weaver. He'd be a good second guy, but as
right.
the guy to go to all the time, Clark Schmidt. You called it, John. I thought you said it earlier with them. The bullpen would hurt them. It really did. The Dodgers were a better team. So I guess that makes Met fans feel a little better. They actually showed better than the Yankees. The
They did.
American League was down this year. Another thing you mentioned. Good for you. But now, John, today is, like I said, Tuesday the 5th. When does free agency technically start in MLB?
They have, I believe, until tomorrow that they have each team had, for instance, like the Mets have with Alonso,
Okay,
exclusive rights, and
right.
then after that, it's open season.
It is. All right.
Yeah,
So okay, so tomorrow, which would be Wednesday the 6th, is the last day. Then it's a free for all. Juan Soto is going out there and looking for the highest bid. This is going to get crazy where it's going to be a bad deal for somebody who signs him. It's
100%.
so that's unfortunate what happens in free agency where if it gets that out of control, the Mets will probably, they might be just better off bringing Pete back and letting Soto go somewhere else and not paying him. I mean, what is it going to cost? Is it going to be 60 million? Is it going to be
I wouldn't
55?
pay him
I
that.
mean,
I
right,
wouldn't pay him.
right.
He's a very good hitter. He's an awful outfielder. We saw it clearly in the playoffs in the World Series. I mean, listen, we saw it with the Nationals that he was missing fly balls, not going back on fly balls. He's still only 26 years old, but are you going to wreck your entire salary and make other guys jealous on team that he's going to get 60 million when I can get Corbin Burns, I can get maybe Hernandez as a free agent. Yeah, of course, we're not going to sign Martinez, so let's get Teoscar Hernandez. You want him out there? Let's get him out there. I mean, the Mets. It's pretty funny. Cole is a Boris client, so he thought he was going to be a smart guy and say, "Oh, I'm going to opt out, and if the Yankees want to keep me, they have to add another year
Yeah.
of $36 million."
And that's what
Well,
they did.
it seems like they called his bluff because they said we're not going to give you that fifth year, and
Okay.
he signed he decided to waive that right to do that, and he's going to stay with them for the final 4 years of his contract, which
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought he was actually trying to opt out. He was
he
actually,
he
that's what
he
happened.
he
Okay.
did opt out.
Right.
The Yankees said no to the fifth year, and he
Okay.
says, "All right, then I don't want to opt out." They let him back into the contract. That would have been a big blunder for him because he has 4 years, $144 million left, and he was injured last year as a
All right.
35-year-old.
So,
So,
John, I'm going to have to because we've been talking for a while, and I just want to get your wish list. I put this the pressure on you. Mets. Well, let's do the Mets. Um, what's the wish list here for Book? This is
the,
you're good at this stuff. What is? Give me some names who you want them to sign. I know you just mentioned Hernandez, and with Pete, and with the existing free agents. As we're going to not, next time we talk to everybody, some of these guys are going to be signed. So, what do you got for us?
well, the smart thing that the Mets did is they gave the qualifying offer to Severino, Minaya, and Alonso. So any team that tries to sign those guys, they have to give up draft picks to the Mets.
Okay.
So it makes them teams less likely to sign these guys to big contracts. So if I was Severino, I would say to Mets, I'm accepting your qualifying offer because it's $21 million. That's more than double what he made last year. And then maybe say to him, look, add another year or two. I want Severino back. I
Okay.
think he's a bulldog. I think we should get Minaya back. So I'd say re-sign those two guys. Pete has to be a good deal. I mean, again, he's a slugger. Hopefully this was an off year just because he kept thinking about this contract too much. But they need starting pitching. I like Corbin Burns. I think they should definitely sign Corbin Burns. And I would say one more starting pitcher. There's just so many out there. You know, everyone's saying the Mets should go after Blake Snell. He's a Boris Klein. This guy turned down a $31 million option. He turned it down. So if I were him, I would have stayed with that, just like Bellinger stayed with the Cubs.
Yeah.
You know, that was a gift. What are you doing? What, you think someone's going to sign you for $150 million like what the Yankees offered you, a 6-year deal? I don't know.
So
But
so you don't have any under the radar guys that you'd like them to try to bring in, or it's not fair. You don't have the list in front of you. So.
I mean, I hear some stupidity about bringing in Flaherty. I don't care for Flaherty at all from the
Okay.
Dodgers. He's a free agent. I think
So
he's.
you're making it sound like the cupboard is pretty bare. So
It's
if
not. They're not. This Corbin Burns is really the only one that I would take a risk on, and he's not that much of a risk. I mean, you sign him the big money. He's 30 years old. He's reliable.
Mhm.
The other guys, you know, that they have Eovaldi out there. I don't want him. Flaherty's out there. There's a lot of mediocrity as far as starting pitching. I mean, Max Fried, I can't imagine him not re-signing with Atlanta, but if they don't want to pay him, I take Max Fried. I think
Okay.
he's an excellent lefty.
Okay,
It's
that's a
all
good
a
name.
matter of what do the Mets want to spend the money on, and they need relief pitching,
Well,
which
everybody does.
I
Everybody.
I, I would love to get. I would love the Mets to get Tanner Scott as a setup guy for Diaz. Guy's proven himself. Pay
Okay,
him,
and he's a free agent.
and he's a free agent.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, there you
I
go. So
like
you got
Tanner.
some
I
names.
like Tanner Scott. And if there's any way, I keep hearing these rumblings, and I can't imagine the Blue Jays even thinking like this about Guerrero because he's coming up. I believe after this year, he's a free agent. So I can't imagine them not re-signing him. If they want a replacement for Pete and that guy's available, I grab him. Whatever they want from our farm system for him.
So he's actually kind of right. He's struggled the last couple of years, right? Didn't he struggle definitely
No,
this year?
last year.
Didn't he?
No,
There was
actually, last year he had a pretty good year. He started off slow, but he actually had a pretty
okay.
decent year.
All right. Well, like his dad, one of the all-time follies of the Mets was
Oh,
not getting his dad back in
oh.
those. Oh my God, which might have gave him a World Series, right? In that early as 2000s, right? Was that when it was
Yeah,
going on?
that's the great Jim Duquette again. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the man of the Scott Kazmir trade, giving him away. He had a chance to get him, and
Right. Right.
they were concerned about the guy's knees, and I'm like, first of all, why do they continually have him as like some type of expert of GM moves on SNY when he made some of the worst moves for the Mets?
Well, that's
Let's
why
talk.
he's on TV, John. He never got another job. So anyway,
Let's
you got anything else before we close? Because we've been talking a long time, John.
Well, two last things. The White Sox finally got a manager, Will Venable.
Okay,
Uh,
there you go. Good
good,
luck to him.
good luck to him. And the Mets declined the option of your favorite Met, and the one I disliked the most during the playoffs. And who is it?
Oh, that you dislike the most with the Met? Oh yeah, I did see it actually. I did see it today. Oh, Phil Maton. It was
Bye
kind of an
bye.
absurd. Yeah, it was like how much was it? It was a lot. I was
It
laughing.
was a lot. It was ridiculous. I'm like, listen, you want to sign back with the Mets? I'll give you $1 million. and see if you get your curveball back.
John,
But that's it.
he'll just be part of another trivia question of all Met fans. You know, some obscure guy who pitched 1 year. Who will ever forget his hanging curveballs?
Please.
Anyway, all right, John. So who do we got to thank?
As always, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake, and to our loyal listeners and viewers. Keep the feedback coming. Again, we'll take it from anywhere you're at. If you're at the website, if you're on Spotify, you're on YouTube, please post it. Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. See you next week.